In this lesson, we'll add some door handles to the door. So the first thing that I want to do is add a little bit of thickness to this door, and then we'll go ahead and add the door handles. So I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and add a shell modifier. And I don't want to have any outer amount. I want to push everything in, so I'll maintain kind of an inner amount there. All right, and I'm going to go ahead and dial my segments down to 0. Okay, and it looks like we've got, okay, so that's going to be the issue here. Go ahead and take these polygons. Since we're going to add thickness to this, we don't really need these guys that we went in and added on the rest of the body. So for the door, we don't really need these. You could also come in and add this thickness just along the edges, but sometimes I find it easier just to add a quick shell modifier on this and get it done. So I'll go ahead and delete these and go back to smooth highlights, and now we'll add our shell onto there. Again, take off the outer amount, just using this inner amount. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and dial the segments down to 0. We'll collapse that to an editable mesh, convert to editable poly, select the ring, and now I'll manually add in my own divisions here because I want them to be a little bit tighter. Okay, now what we want to do is add the door handle. Now part of the door handle is this little inset here. Now looking at this, we don't have enough geometry in here to actually create this. So one of the things that we can do is to actually smooth this out and then go in and create that. So if you want to, you can go ahead and make a copy of this low-res door if you want to do that. It's up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and just add a turbo smooth modifier. And I'll just leave the iterations at 1. At least we've got more resolution in here that we can use. Go ahead and collapse that. Say yes, convert to editable poly. And now what I want to do is take these vertices right in here, go to a local right here, see this local, and that's our reference coordinate system there. So we're using local. I'm just going to pull these out around the shape of that door. And I'm not going to get exact. I'm just going to give it some room here to work. Okay, I'm now going to select all these polygons. Let's do an inset. And we'll do an inset quite a bit. Say OK to that. And then we'll use these to actually shape where we want the door handle to be. Okay, so I'll make this into kind of a round circle shape. I'll grab this top and then use these to come over and help create this circular shape. Same thing down here. Going to move these over. And something more like that. Okay, and so we're just, again, creating this area for this handle to be inset from. And we have the opportunity to do that because we've added extra resolution in here. Okay, so we want to just make sure that we bring all this in right in there. Okay, so we create something that's kind of nice and circular. This maybe needs to come over a bit. And something like that. And so we get kind of a nice circle shape. Okay, let's go in and check this. You can see we've got a couple of these that are kind of off kilter, and we don't want that, so we want to make sure we come in and make sure all these are matched up with the side of the car there. Okay, and this maybe has gone in a little bit. And we can pull this in a little bit. So just kind of smooth everything out. Alright, so once we have that all sort of smoothed out, we can now use those polygons. And let's go ahead and inset them one more time to create the sharpness around the edge. We'll just do a small inset. Okay, and then we'll do an extrude, and we'll go ahead and extrude that slightly in, apply that, and the next extrude we'll go ahead and push in. Okay, we'll say OK, and then we can kind of scale this down, and then if we want to bevel this, we can kind of bevel that back in, so it's something like that. Let's say OK to that. Okay, and now we can smooth this out to see what this is going to look like. Turn off our edge faces, and then you get a kind of a nice inset there. You can see we haven't really deformed the rest of the door that much. Okay, so now that we have that, we can now add the handle. So to add the handle, I'm going to add, just to start with a primitive box, I'm going to turn this auto grid on. Okay, I don't want to have to move it around. I want to actually draw it on top of where I need it. So if I turn this auto grid on, it'll actually use this geometry to draw out the box. So if I come in here, and you can see it creates kind of a temporary grid, and I can actually pull that out. Okay, go ahead and turn that off. You can see that's actually drawn kind of right onto the door there. I can rotate that if I want to, and you can see how that sort of matches up a little bit. We can scale it, size it, do whatever we want to it, but it was just easier to draw that right on there rather than coming in and trying to move it into position after I've drawn it out. Alright, so now we need to create the handle itself, which kind of extends across that gap. Okay, so what we want to do is kind of just shape this a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and convert this to editable poly. And then some of these edges, I'm going to go ahead and just grab and move them in. So I'll grab these, and then these edges down here, and I'm going to go back to our view and just push those in slightly. Okay, I'm going to grab these edges, and again push those in as well. And to get something like that. Okay, and then I can maybe scale this in a little bit if it's too much. All right, and I'm going to take these polygons right here and scale these up. And this is what I'm going to use to kind of extrude out from. All right, and let's go ahead and select these vertices as well. Okay, so I'm going to grab these polygons and then this one, go ahead and extrude that out. Okay, so something like that. And then I'll take these polygons, oops, go ahead and apply that. And I'll take these polygons and extrude these over straight across. Okay, and let's say OK. Then I'll pull these out a little bit. Okay, I'm going to pull it out past the point where the other line is, so right about there. Go back to our perspective here. And now I want to add a bunch of divisions in here, so I can just grab those edges, go to connect, and let's add a few divisions in there, and we can slide these along. So something like that. All right, now I'll take these polygons back here that we've now created and extrude those out. I'll do a small extrusion at first, apply that, and then the last one I can punch right into the side of the car, say OK, and I can actually go ahead and delete those. Now I'm going to take these edges and kind of soften this part up a little bit, do a little bit of shaping, take some of these vertices and move these in. Okay, and I want to have a little bit of shape to this handle too, so I'm going to go ahead and scale this down, and this as well, to give it a little bit more shape. Okay, I'm going to take these edges right here, and we've softened up that other side, so I want to do the same thing over on this side, just by using our scale by the view. And so I want to let's do that, so I'm going to go ahead and make sure I can grab my vertices and then go in and do that. And I'll do the same thing with all of these points basically in here. Okay, as we've scaled this down, we want to make sure it's nice and soft in there as well. Same thing right here, and pull that in. And all along this top of this handle part. All right, and then we can kind of taper that in if we want to. as well. Just something fairly simple for the door handle itself. And if you want to get rid of those polygons on the inside of here, you can do that as well. Right? So you can come in and grab some of those polygons and actually delete those. If you can't see them, you can always hit Control Q, and that will enable you to come in and quickly isolate this piece and then make any modifications you want to, and you can exit isolation mode. Go ahead and select the vertices, and you can pull those right into the car. Alright, so again, we're not following any sort of blueprints for the actual handle. We just want to get something. Look at how we can use our primitives very quickly to create something in here. We can come in and soften that up if we want to. Okay, if we want something that's a little bit more round, okay, let's go to our left-hand view and just kind of take a look at this. If we want to round it off a little bit, we can take those vertices, for instance these and these, and just kind of pull those in. And then for the inside here, we can kind of pull these out. Okay, so you can kind of round that off if you want to. Alright. And then we can push the whole thing. If we want to push it, we can just push it into the car just a little bit. So you can see how quickly we're able to add not only the inset to the door, but also a handle for it right in there. Okay, so now that we've got the door handles added, or the door handle, keep in mind that we've got one here. If we've got one, we've got two, because we can just mirror it over to the other side. So now that we've got that added, let's go ahead and use some of the same techniques to add the kind of the gas cap on the back quarter panel here. So we'll go ahead and do that in the next lesson.